In this video, I'm going to walk through everything you need to get started with the Eyegaze Connect. So that includes the required hardware, software updates, and the step-by-step instructions for getting it all set up. So first off, let's go over what exactly the Eyegaze Connect does. The Eyegaze Connect is a combination of both hardware and software that essentially turns your Eyegaze Edge into a wireless mouse and keyboard for another Bluetooth-enabled device. And it lets you practically do anything that you could do with a physical mouse and keyboard as though you were sitting in front of that device. So what do you need to get started? The hardware you'll need is an Eyegaze Edge tablet. You'll also need either an Eyegaze Connect USB dongle, which is a white dongle that looks exactly like a flash drive and it has our Eyegaze logo on it. Or you'll need an Encore camera that was purchased after August of 2025. So both the USB dongle and the camera would need to be purchased after August of 2025 to support this version of Eyegaze Connect. You'll also need a Bluetooth capable device that you want to control. So that can be an iPhone, iPad, a laptop, a tablet, essentially anything that you could use a wireless mouse and keyboard with, or a mouse and keyboard with. The software that you'll need is Eyegaze Edge version 6.4.2025 or newer, and I'll show you how to check your version right now. So on your desktop, if you have an Eyegaze Edge tablet, you should have the Eyegaze Edge settings icon. Looks like a gear icon right here. If it's not on your desktop, you can also search for it. Just hit the Windows key and search for Eyegaze Edge settings, and you should see it pop up. So we're going to open that up. And on the bottom right corner, you should see this advanced button. Just go ahead and click that. And then in the bottom left corner of that page, you'll see your version number. So in my case, it says 2025 1218, but we can ignore that. In your case, it should say 2025 6.4 or newer. So anything higher than June of 2025. You'll also need an updated version of Eyeworld. So to check your version of Eyeworld, just open Eyeworld, and on the main menu page, just click the right arrow button and go to Settings. On the bottom of your settings page, you'll have the version number, and you're going to need 5.40 or newer. In my case, it's a beta, but in your case, it should not be the beta version. Alternatively, you can just open your Eyegaze menu, and if you have all of those requirements, you'll see the Eyegaze Connect button show up on your second menu page, right on the top left corner. So let's open this up, and I'll give you a quick overview on what all you can do here. You'll notice I don't have an eye image on my top left corner here. That's because I'm using my mouse as the access method, and I have a Eyegaze Connect USB dongle plugged in. If you have an Encore camera that you're using for Eyegaze Connect, you'll need to have eye tracking enabled as your access method, and you should see your eye image in the top left corner here. So first off, right up top, you'll see a speak button and a message box on the right side. These two are just there for your convenience. The speak button is just so you can type out a message and have it speak, so you don't have to go back and forth to the chat keyboard too often. And then the message box up here is just so you can see what you've already typed out and won't have to look at the remote device. Aside from these two, what you've got down here is basically a regular computer keyboard, a virtual computer keyboard, with not just the letters and numbers, but also the function keys that you need. And under layer 2, you'll have some of the other keys. You'll also have a button for mouse access to control your cursor here. In this video, mostly we'll be going over the settings. You can get to them in the bottom right corner here by clicking that gear icon. So on the settings page, you've got your back and pause buttons in the bottom here. Next up, you've got toggle speech. This essentially tells MindExpress whether to ignore the speech settings that you have in your MindExpress menu or not. So just as a reminder, that's under Menu, Settings, and Speech. You've got characters, words, and sentences. So in my case, I have sentences turned on, set to yes. If toggle speech were on, then it would speak every time I type out a sentence, regardless of whether I hit the speak button. Since I have toggle speech turned off, it will only speak when the speak button is clicked. Next up, you've got your layout here. This part's optional. It'll work whether you have the correct layout selected or not. The layout modes just give you convenient hotkeys that are tailored to the operating system that you're controlling. So if you're controlling a Windows PC, you'll want to click the Windows button here. If you're controlling a MacBook, you'll click Mac. And then iPhones and iPads, you would click this third button here. If you are controlling an iPhone or an iPad, you'll want to turn on full keyboard access under your accessibility settings. If you need instructions on how to do that, we'll have a link to those. And lastly, we've got this Android button. This isn't available yet. If you click it, you'll get this message. And if you are trying to control an Android, that doesn't mean you can't use it. You just need to click this Windows button. This will give you pretty much all of the keyboard and mouse access that you need. It's just that the custom buttons for Android are not available yet. Next up, we've got speed scroll. This is only relevant if you're using eye tracking. If you're using a Eyegaze Connect USB dongle without an eye tracker, you can ignore this altogether. So we've got the slow, normal, and fast speeds. I'll show you how that works over here. On the mouse page, on the right side, we have a step scroll button up and down and a speed scroll button. The step scroll can be used with both with and without eye tracking. Clicking the up or down buttons will scroll once on the remote device. Speed scroll, on the other hand, will continue to scroll until the speed scroll button is clicked again. The reason you need eye tracking enabled for that is speed scroll only works when you're looking away from the Eyegaze Edge device and at your remote device. We need eye tracking enabled so that speed scroll can tell whether or not you're looking at your Eyegaze Edge, and that's how it knows when to start scrolling. The slow, normal, and fast buttons on the settings page will tell it how quickly to scroll when you've got it enabled. Now up top, we've got our Bluetooth profiles. Similar to some higher-end Bluetooth keyboards, the Eyegaze Connect can control up to 3 devices, and it can switch between them seamlessly. You've got your button labels up here, Profile 1, Profile 2, and Profile 3. And then down here, you can activate those profiles by selecting these buttons. You can tell which one's active by looking at which one's the lighter shade of blue icon, whereas the grayed out ones are inactive. To select a profile, it means activating pairing mode. So I'm going to click this right now, and you'll see the label on top change. It's got this spinning blue circle up here. That means it's in pairing mode right now. That means on the other device, you can search for and pair with the Eyegaze Connect. It would show up on your Bluetooth list, and you can pair with it just like you would with any other mouse or like a Bluetooth speaker. There's lots of different types of devices out there and different operating systems, so I won't really get into how to pair with a Bluetooth device. If you're not sure how to do that, you should check your device's manual or contact the manufacturer. In my case, I'm pairing with a Windows tablet here, so I'm going to go and add that device now. And I see Eyegaze Connect U show up because I'm using the Eyegaze Connect USB dongle. I'm going to click that, and you can see that the Profile 1 status up here now shows connected, and the device name appears here. Once it's paired, the Eyegaze Connect saves the device info to that profile. So what you see here will be saved, and this way, even if you disconnect, reboot the Eyegaze device, or bring the remote device out of range, the profile will still remember which device to reconnect with the next time you activate it. Now, just because you see this desktop name over here doesn't mean that this is the only device it'll connect to when you click on this profile. This is just there to tell you which device it will try to connect to first. So if at some later point I were to click on this profile and activate it, it'll look for the desktop 4IO JTTO tablet first, and if that's not available, it will still go into pairing mode and allow you to pair with another device. Having the ability to have multiple devices paired is really convenient, and I can do this with up to 3 devices. I can even switch between them almost instantly without having to touch any of the remote devices. So for example, you can have an iPhone with an Eyegaze phone mounted next to your Eyegaze Edge tablet. You can have a laptop on profile 2 and an iPad on profile 3. In my case, I've got these 2 devices sitting right next to me, so I'm going to click profile 1 and reconnect to my Windows tablet. And you can see it connected in just a couple seconds. Then I'm going to go back and reconnect with the iPhone. This way I can switch between these 2 devices and have instant mouse and keyboard control of either device. Lastly, let's go over this Clear Selected Profile button. This is used to disconnect from a previously paired device. Now this button is really seldom used because you don't need to clear a profile just to pair to a new device. If the previously paired device is off or out of range, you can just click the profile that it's associated with to re-enter pairing mode. I can show you that now with this MacBook. So my Eyegaze Connect has been paired with a MacBook on profile 3 earlier, but the MacBook's no longer in the room. I can click that profile, and even though the name and the model says MacBook, it can go into pairing mode and pair with a different device. You can see that it just switched over to this Windows tablet. There's 3 reasons when you should use the Clear Selected Profile button. The first one is if the Eyegaze Connect is connecting to a mystery device that you can't identify or access. The Clear Selected Profile button will make it stop connecting to any device that it's connected to or connecting to. Second reason is if you're donating, returning, or you're disposing of your Eyegaze Edge tablet and you want to just clear out your device information. You would just use this button, click yes, and the name and model of that device is erased. The third reason to use this button is if you're having technical issues with a device and you just want to start fresh. So if you're having trouble connecting to a device, or it's not connecting to a device that it's been previously connected to, you can try clearing out that profile so you can start over. Now if you do use the Clear Selected Profile button, especially if you use it because you're having technical issues and want to start fresh, you should always remove or forget the Eyegaze Connect from the Bluetooth list on the remote device. That's the device you're trying to control, especially if you plan to reconnect that device to the Eyegaze Connect in the future. Usually this can be done from the same settings menu when you paired the device, but you should always check your device manual if you're not sure. The most important thing to avoid is pairing a device with the Eyegaze Connect as though it's a new device when it still has the old connection in its Bluetooth devices list, because then it can get confused. And similarly, you don't want to pair the same device to multiple profiles. Good rule of thumb is if you see more than one Eyegaze Connect device listed in your devices list, remove them all and start over. Alright, so at this point we've covered everything you need to start using the Eyegaze Connect, including the required updates in hardware, how to access the Eyegaze Connect page in Eyeworld, and how to manage Bluetooth and layout settings.